What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I've got another very important AMC update to bring all of you this afternoon. So what we're going to be covering in this video is a brief Ortex short interest and utilization update. We have some interesting moves happening with those key data points, specifically utilization, which if you have been following along with any of my videos, I think that is one of, if not the most important data point that we have at the current time to figure out where we are at in terms of the timeline for the next big price move up for AMC, or even the potential squeeze that we have on hand. Now, in addition to this, we are also going to touch on this conversation surrounding options right now with AMC. A lot of people have come out and said, well, options are bad, they're hurting the squeeze, they're giving liquidity to these institutions, and now, while that may be 100% factual, there's an other side of the story as well that is actually beneficial. So there's two sides to this story, a positive and negative outcome that I want to make sure you guys understand. Now, the big point that I want to get to in this video is this whole situation surrounding Citadel potentially selling around 400 plus billion of all of their equity positions. This would be above 90% of everything that they would have been holding. And I think that there is a lot of confusion out there right now. A lot of people don't necessarily know what they're reading. And we are going to go over exactly what is going on with this potential Citadel sell-off. Now, again, this isn't what you may think it is at face value, but there is a silver lining to this situation that I want to make sure you guys all understand. So before we get into all of that information, if you enjoyed the information and analysis that I provide for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And the more people that we have staying up to date with accurate AMC information, the stronger our community becomes. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So at the current time that I'm recording, AMC is trading at $33.75, down very slightly, about 0.2% on the day. We are seeing a little bit of volatility today, and that is, in my opinion, in part due to this being a weekly options expiration day, which we will cover in a bit. Now, when we come over to Ortex, we can see that the utilization is hanging out around this 89% level. We've seen this utilization number actually drop over the last week. Now, this is pretty interesting. We've been on that uptrend for utilization, and a lot of us were hopeful that we were going to be able to get above that 95% threshold. We were not able to get there yet, but again, with the manipulation that we are seeing with this stock, all of the shorts that we have seen started to enter over the last 2 weeks, I still think that we are going to continue that upward trajectory with the utilization. And again, that could potentially lead to those forced share recalls by putting pressure on not only the institutions who are shorting AMC, but the lenders of security. So any of the big banks or institutions that could potentially be loaning out their shares. So quick return versus borrowed share update, 3.06 million returned, 3.17 million borrowed, with a borrowed change at the current time of 105,000. Short interest hanging out around that 17.88% level, still incredibly high. Now, let's get into the situation surrounding Citadel selling off a major portion of all of their equity positions and exactly the validity of what is being shared all around Reddit, Twitter, and even on a lot of these YouTube live chats. And then we're going to get into that conversation surrounding options, whether they are good or bad for the cause that we have at hand. So when we come over here, this is what everybody's really been freaking out about. Latest statistics and disclosures from Citadel Advisors' latest quarterly 13F-HR filing. Reduced shares in these 10 stocks. Amazon, negative 21 billion. QQQ, negative 17 billion. Apple, negative 9.4 billion. Google, negative 8.4 billion. And the list goes on. Now, the kicker comes when we look down here, and it says Citadel Advisors was a net seller of stock by 408 billion. This is what everybody's freaking out about, because everybody pretty much knows that Citadel currently had at the current time about $450 billion in assets under management. This would represent an over 90% sell-off of all of its positions. So people were thinking, oh my God, was there a big margin call? Are they liquidating everything because something is happening? No, that's not really what's happening. So when we come over here, this is whale wisdom. Now, this is tracking Citadel's portfolio values over the last couple of quarters. In the last quarter, Q1 2021, the market value was about 407 billion. Now, when we come to this quarter, 446 billion. We're going to see this number a lot. When we come over to Fintel, they are reporting $446 billion as well. Now, here's what we need to keep in mind. Citadel Advisors LLC has disclosed 13,568 total holdings in their latest SEC filings. Portfolio managers are listed as Ken Griffin. Most recent portfolio value is calculated to be that $446 billion number. Now, here is something that you need to keep in mind. Actual assets under management, AUM, is this value that we are seeing, $446 billion, plus cash, which is not disclosed. So they have even more money on top of this. So when we think about Citadel potentially selling off that $408 billion number, this already does not seem to make a lot of sense. Now, when we come over to Citadel's actual filing right here, we see this $446 billion number again. So at this point in the video, with the evidence that I have presented, we know that Citadel's assets under management has actually increased over the last quarter. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not selling off positions, which we're going to look at later. But what it does mean is that they didn't sell off that wildly high $408 billion that was being suggested by this website over here. So now let's take a look at an actual example to try to really disprove some of these claims. So they reduced shares in these 10 stocks. Amazon, negative $21 billion. So when we come over here, this is going to be Citadel's 13F. Amazon is listed right around here. They had an average share price of $3,267.12 with a share amount of $177,553, and they decreased their share amount over the last quarter by 13.79%. So let's just do some basic math surrounding this. When we look over here, the average share price multiplied by the amount of shares gives us about $384 million. When you divide that $384 million by 1 minus the percentage of shares changed, we get $445 million. So that was potentially around the number that they were holding at the end of Q1. You do this subtraction right here, $445 million minus $384 million, and you get about $61 million. That is nowhere near close to what we saw with that 21, I believe it was over here, $21 billion of Amazon that they had sold. So here's what a lot of this comes down to. There's going to be errors, there's going to be glitches, and the evidence suggests at the current time that Citadel did not sell that crazy high amount of $408 billion. What I would suggest to a lot of people is, yeah, it's really good to ask questions about what's going on, especially when things are being circulated at a very fast rate around the internet. But you can't just take things at face value all the time. There always needs to be new research coming in to really figure out what exactly is going on. And this goes along with what I have been saying in a couple of my previous videos, that you're never going to really know the true reasons for any actions taken in the market unless you are sitting across from the individual or individuals that are making those decisions, and you can guarantee that they are giving you an honest answer. So right now, we know they didn't really sell that $408 billion, but here's something that I want you guys to keep in mind. The current positions for Citadel is about 13,568. They only opened 5 new positions and closed 1,550 positions. We know they significantly decreased their share amount in AMC, which we can see right down here. This is the AMC institutional ownership page on Fintel. And when we can see right here, Citadel Advisors, they now have 136,000 shares, and they decreased their share amount by 81%. So they are decreasing a lot of their positions, and there are a couple of different reasons for this. One, we could be heading into times of market downturn, which is entirely possible and something that I've been talking about on this channel. But again, we don't necessarily know when exactly those are going to happen. Now, I really want to briefly touch upon this conversation surrounding options. So that is going to be one of the final things that we discuss in this video. And yeah, people are correct in saying that when options expire out of the money, which when we take a look at the option chain for AMC, all of these deep out of the money options, when they expire worthless, it allows the people who sold those options to capture that full premium and make 100% of that potential gain. Now, a lot of these people who are selling these options are the institutions that could potentially be short on AMC. But what I really want you guys to understand is that there's always two sides to every situation. If options can hurt us, they can also help us. When we think about the price movements and the volatility for AMC, especially what happened back in June with the massive price run up. That was essentially what's called a gamma squeeze. Now, that has to do with institutions hedging options that are running in the money, and they have to go out and buy the appropriate amount of shares in order to maintain a directionally neutral status. What they are essentially creating is a covered call position. So if we didn't have all these people buying options back in April or May leading up to that June run-up, we most likely wouldn't have seen the height of that price run-up that we did anyway without all of those options. So what this really comes down to is if you are experienced in trading options, do whatever you want with your money. It is up to you. You can do anything that you want, especially if you know the risk. But if you are a new options trader, I would really suggest that you paper trade, learn everything that you can about options, because there is that possibility that you are generating liquidity for some of these institutions that are short AMC. So that is really going to wrap up this update on AMC. If you enjoyed the information and analysis that I provided for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next video.